What is going on, everybody? Welcome to week 3 of the NFL show. We're going to do our first look here. I know it's only Wednesday when we're recording these, so some things are bound and likely to change. With football, that's the way it is. Didn't have a great week last week. Had some decent lineups. Sheets, anything for you last week in football?
For football, I mean, I'm already on to this next week. I mean, last week, I mean, we all pretty much the same teams. We had those later games kind of stacked up, and I presume that you had a little not too much. I mean, it is what it is. But
that game should have been 45-42. I mean, it was just ridiculous the way that it played out.
And you're referring to the Cowboy game. It's just the way it goes. On to the next one.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get it started with Chicago, Cleveland. I'm not finding a whole lot of interest in this game personally. I really don't have a whole lot. I think Allen Robinson, sure. I just don't have a lot of love for this game. It's not one I'm targeting. It's not anything that I'm focused on. I think the defenses are solid. I don't have a ton of interest. I think against a rookie quarterback, you can argue about the Browns' defense. Maybe that's one thing, but I don't really think there's a whole lot from this game that I want to talk about.
I actually do have kind of an overall slate view, by the way, to share. And again, these are based on early projections, but the projections actually don't change all that much during the week, unless some weird stuff happens. Like last week, we had a really, really big standout, at least as far as I was concerned, at running back. I had two. Like I had Harris and Carson, but like to this week, I mean, just at least my early runs and my models and all the stuff that I aggregate. I mean, I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, literally like 10 running backs that I can play, that all look really close to one another. So it's going to create kind of a different type of slate, I think, which I'm kind of into. Because remember last week, I kind of whined at myself all week saying, I'm just getting all this Harris and Carson. I feel like I'm kind of a fish by doing that. Or at least this week, I'm going to have a chance to go and play a lot of different running backs if I want to do that. Neither of whom, by the way, are in this game. I am not getting to Chubb here, and I'm not getting to Montgomery here. You got two freaking Q tags on these quarterbacks. I don't even know who's playing, whether it be Fields or
I'm
Dalton.
sure. I think it's going to be Fields this time.
You think so?
I'm not sure, but I think I would guess Fields.
And Fields could, again, if you played cash, Fields could be one of those kind of funny pay down running quarterback situations. I'm not particularly good at figuring out which of those is good and which isn't, but just because he has running upside. But there's way too many question marks in this game right now for me to do anything. So I'm with you. I don't have a single shred of interest of either side of any of this.
I do think that the only thing I overlooked and didn't mention was Darnell Mooney. I think is an interesting play at 4,300. I think that's a little too cheap, and I could, you could break one play and that'd be enough. But that's the only thing I have really highlighted here. It's too hard to play the guessing game right now with the Cleveland wide receivers and Odell. We don't know if he'll be back or not. Guessing no, but who knows? Let's move over to the Bills game. Bills against Washington. Josh Allen's always a great play. Maybe gets lower ownership this week. Allen to Diggs, if we want to do that. We did see Washington look a little worse defensively. That was on a short week against the Giants. But in this game, that's basically all. I have some interest in the Allen to Diggs combination. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to Terry McLaurin, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get to Logan Thomas at his price. So Gibson's a very fair price and is a workload back. This is a good defense in Buffalo. It's really just a combination of maybe you throw Emmanuel Sanders into the value receivers category, but I do think that it's mostly just going to be Diggs and Allen, and I don't even necessarily want to run back if I do that.
So the way that I'm attacking this slate, it's the same as I did last week. I'm trying to find games to stack and teams to stack, and then find good running backs and tight ends, whatever. And I have 7 teams. Like last week I had 4. This week I have actually 5. This week I have 7 teams that are in my mix. And as weird as it is, Buffalo happens to be one of them.
That's not weird. That's like the most everybody's going to always have Buffalo every single week.
Okay.
because
The only reason I mention is because, Washington, I thought they had a reputation for like a good defense and a slow
they
team.
do, but Josh Allen and Kyler Murray are just always going to be, you know what I mean?
Okay.
They're always going to be on 10% prop, basically.
So I like the idea of Allen and Diggs, and I also like the idea of McLaurin. I mean, you every week last year I played McLaurin, and I'd like I do have some interest in Gibson as one of those running backs, but the real takeaway from that Washington game that you mentioned against the Giants, I will just say this, that if Daniel Jones is going to run for 100 yards against Washington, I mean, short week, but I mean, Josh Allen is in a good spot this week. If that's really what Washington wants to do and let the quarterback run, I'm sure Josh Allen will certainly accommodate that. I do have Buffalo as one of the teams that I want to target, but I'd like to think that just better spots, but there will be as we talk about them. But I like Josh Allen, I like Diggs, I like Gibson from Washington, I like McLaurin for Washington as well, and yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think if I'm going to be playing guys from Washington, I'm definitely spreading out way too thin in my opinion, and it's too big of a slate. I can't get every access to everybody, so I don't have anything there.
Okay.
The next one, Indy and Tennessee. I actually think this is like, first of all, I think that the defensively, especially, like, it's weird to say, especially with Wentz out, because I always want to target against Wentz. But the Titans defense stands out to me, which I don't like the defense. They've been really bad in general. I'm surprised that they're only 5-point favorites in this game, especially with Wentz doubtful. I think this is a really good spot to play their defense. And I could argue for the Derrick Henry thing again. If he ends up really low owned, I'm okay. I'm open to it. But as of right now, I don't have him as my spend up. I think everybody's in play, but I don't really feel like I need to attack this game. I don't know what kind of game we're going to get with no even Wentz, who's they've been using with Eason as the backup quarterback. Tennessee's defense, I think, is really suspect in general, but I don't really know who I want to play at these prices against it. The one thing is, if they can keep the ball on the ground with Jonathan Taylor, they'll do that. Personally, I think this is mostly a fade. We have Tennessee, who plays pretty fast, and Indy, who plays really slow. Even if Tennessee dictates the tempo, you could argue for Julio Jones, AJ Brown. I think those are both totally in play, but I'm okay with attacking these Indy cornerbacks. We saw what Cooper Kupp did last week. I just don't know that I really think it's the best way to go on this slate. I think they win this game on the ground and with their defense against a really, undermanned Indy team right now.
I currently don't have ownerships put up yet. So I'm really just operating on just numbers without ownerships. So I don't know where Henry's going to end up, but he's one of my guys. I mean, he's again, I have like 8 running backs I'm interested in. And as far as spend ups goes, he's certainly one of them. And it's going to be an ownership driven decision. So I have to see where ownership kind of comes in a little bit, but I definitely think Henry's in play, as he always is. I mean, he's got, he always has a ceiling. He always has, the possibility of getting 40 fantasy points, just does.
Yep.
So he's in my mix. Aside from that, I don't really have a lot of interest. I don't think the game is going to be particularly exciting. And I'm kind of off of this game.
Yeah, if this game gets, 0 love or whatever, I could see trying to maybe say, if you play a one lineup with it as a shootout, but I just don't see it right now.
Yep.
Atlanta and the Giants. Okay, so here's the most interesting part of this whole thing. Cordarrelle Patterson is my number one owned player this week, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close as of right now. Getting too much work both in the passing game and in the running game. They finally found a way to utilize him like effectively, it seems like, or at least early in the season. And I am not particularly scared of the Giants defense in general. I think that he's running back eligible on DraftKings. So he's extremely, extremely in play over there. And same thing, he's running back and wide receiver eligible on FanDuel. I think he's the best he's my favorite running back option as a spend down. You have so many routes to get there. I think the projections are a little bit low on him. I know he just put up a big game. But even week one, you look at him, he's had 7 rush attempts the first 2 weeks. and he had 5 catches last week, 58 yards and a touchdown. I think he's extremely he's right now one of my favorite plays on the board. Also allows you to build a little differently with him at running back at 4,600. I know Mike Davis is only 5,100 just above him, who's going to get the majority of their running game, but we have Patterson also as a receiver. So I like Patterson a lot in this matchup. And I think that there's actually like some sneaky upside for a lot. If Evan Ingram is a go, I love Evan Ingram. If not, I mean, whether he's there or not, I think Kyle Pitts is always going to be in play, obviously for me, and especially against the Giants. So I think he's a really good play. And I'm not finding the run back that I exactly want on the Giants. Oh, Calvin Ridley also I like. I do like this game. I just can't find the Giants guy that I want the most, whether it be Shepard or Galladay. I think I would lean Galladay, but I'm sort of stuck in between on those guys. But I like this game a little bit.
I'm a little confused. I personally don't have much showing right now about Patterson, but I'll certainly continue to look at it. If you want to, first of all, you want to run back, what's wrong with Barkley?
He doesn't play.
Oh, he's not in?
No, he plays, 30% of the snaps, 40% of the snaps. That's their whole plan, is to bring him along slowly.
And you don't think he's ready now?
Nope. I mean, I won't until I see it. There's no reason for me to believe it. The numbers are projections are just, I mean, they're not accurate. They've been wrong on him drastically. And I'm just telling you right now, like, if you want to turn him in play, it's Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't even know where. I'd be surprised actually if the ownership doesn't come up on him. I think he's an awesome play. I actually saw an early thing from, I believe it was Osimo, who had him as the number 1 running back outright this week.
There's definitely something to monitor throughout the week.
But it is, we're monitoring it, right? This is exactly, I know I've known Cordarrelle Patterson's game since he came out, and no one's effectively found a way to use him. And there's no question Atlanta is trying to use him like that. It's hard with Atlanta's game flow, but this game, they're a small underdog. I think this is a really interesting game to play, a combination of Patterson, Pitts, especially. And then with the Giants, maybe it's almost the time to bring back to bring back Barkley. But I think that's what we need to monitor, is if we think Barkley is going to get more run this week. If Barkley does, because they had a long break, maybe it is the time to play Barkley. Maybe I was a little too quick to dismiss it. But initially, I was looking at the receivers, Galladay, Shepard. But I think Ingram would be my favorite, assuming that Ingram's in.
Okay, you want to
yeah, we can move on. I like the game. I just don't love the quarterbacks. Although Daniel Jones, you could talk me into. This is one of the premier games, I think, and I think it's going to be where a lot of the ownership goes. I totally get it. Chargers and KC historically always play pretty tight games. I really like I always like Tyreek Hill, obviously, but I think the better play is Travis Kelce this week. And I think the best play on the Chargers is Keenan Allen. I do like Mike Williams as well, but I really like Allen a lot. I think he's way too cheap. So those guys are all priorities for me. Allen, Kelce, and I don't mind if you want to pair them with the quarterbacks. I'm good with Mahomes. I'm good with Herbert, but I really, really like those two guys. And I also like, I think Jared Cook is in play as well. So that's my interest in this game. I have Mahomes as just behind Kyler Murray as my favorite quarterback, I guess.
Yeah, this game is the premier game, I presume. I mean, I have KC ranked number 1. I have Chargers ranked number 5. So put the two together, and you're gonna hopefully get a lot of fantasy points and such. And yeah, I agree with Kelce as one of the. I literally have 3 tight ends, and Kelsey's one of them. And on the Chargers side, I mean, you hit it right on the head. I mean, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. You can play some Eckler if you want to. Mm-hmm. What do you think they're going to do with Edwards-Helaire?
What do you mean?
I mean, people are talking running him out of town or something like that. Is he like some like bizarre, awesome tournament player or no?
Probably. It's a good question. He's so unproductive, and there was so much talk about him. I don't understand why they talked so much about him, but because of his price, hard not to have some interest in him.
Yeah.
So I can get behind that.
But this is going to be where I mean, I presume this is where the ownership is. It's not going to be one of those Kansas City doesn't get played weeks, right?
No, I don't think it's going to happen. No. Okay. The Chargers cornerbacks are actually pretty good. I think that the place to beat him is over the middle. So I do like Kelsey a little bit. I have Kelsey a little bit above Hill this week, which always makes me nervous to say because Hill can just make 2 plays that destroy a slate. But Eckler, yeah, this whole game is definitely one to target for me. But I think it's going to be a popular one, and it's not my favorite. So I will I'll leave it at that, I guess. Okay. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. This is a weird game because you have the 2 running backs who are on the field longer than anybody else in football. And it's not the ideal matchup. Mixon and Harris are on the list for me, but not priorities. And I wish I would have got the right Pittsburgh receiver last week. I went with Claypool and it was Johnson. We'll see the health of Deontay Johnson by the end of the week, but I do like Claypool again, either way. And I do have interest in both running backs, but they're not must-haves for me by any means.
Yeah, I like them both. I mean, I have Harris and Mixon both in my 10 running back pool, right, of top running backs. They gave him the ball even when they shouldn't have with Pittsburgh. So I think they definitely want to make him a big part of it. They really could use a better performance overall out of their offense, by the way.
Yeah, Roethlisberger looks really bad.
Yeah. So in any case, I do like him. I do like Mixon. And I don't think I think Pittsburgh's going to try to bounce back off of that game. And I don't have a lot of luck. Well, no one has a lot of luck playing offenses in Pittsburgh when Pittsburgh needs a win. You know what I mean? I think Cincinnati could have a little bit of a problem here. With that said, I mean, Cincinnati played at Pittsburgh last year, and I remember this from Survivor. I mean, and Pittsburgh was like a 100-point favorite, and Cincinnati beat them with like a backup quarterback. It was one of Pittsburgh's worst losses in the last 5 years. So I think Pittsburgh's going to come out and take this game pretty seriously. So I don't like anything from the Cincinnati side except maybe Mixon. So Mixon, Harris, and I don't think I'm going to do anything with anything depending on Roethlisberger's arm for the time being.
Yeah, I actually think all of the receivers are viable, which makes it really hard to pick which one for Cincinnati. Tyler Boyd is 4,700, and that just seems too cheap. I also think that Chase has looked really good. T. Higgins is, we saw what he can do by the end of last year. I just think that it's hard to pick. I think if I had to pick one, I would pick Tyler Boyd. But I don't mind T. Higgins either with, both those guys I probably have a tiny bit ahead of Chase. But they're all good. They're all interesting plays. I really like also I would take shots with the Cincinnati defense, the kind of defense at 2,100 I would want to take some shots on. Roethlisberger takes a lot of sacks as well as turns the ball over. So they're 2,100. They're a cheap defense you can throw in your mix. All right. How about Baltimore, Detroit here? What do you got for me?
Yeah, more than I thought I was going to have. Actually, not that much. So first of all, you talk about fantasy play syndrome. I mean, I actually did better in the showdown than I thought I was going to the other day. I lost, but I got some money back a little bit later on. And my big freaking fancy play syndrome genius play was to play Zero Hawkinson, despite the fact that you told me, and everybody that knows anything about football told me that freaking Goff is just going to find him. And that's all he freaking found him, man. And he's good, Hawkinson. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at there. I mean, I like Hawkinson a lot in this spot. I like, and he's one of the 3 tight ends I'm going to play. So that's one thing. Second thing is that I do like Detroit as an against the spread play this week for the reasons that any of you know anything about me, you should know by now why. Baltimore had extremely awesome win against Kansas City. Lamar shedding the demons right down to the end and all that stuff. Just a perfect opportunity to go into Detroit and come up flat. But in any case, I do like Lamar in the spot. And if I knew what to do with it, you know what I mean? Like I would try to get, I think this game could freaking put up some points. I just don't know exactly how to play it. Can you play some like bizarro 2 tight end lineup where you play Lamar, Andrews, and Hawkinson? I mean, that's certainly something you could do. Or you could play Lamar by himself and Hawkinson on the run back, or something like that. So that's kind of where I had some interest in this game. I just don't know exactly how to do it though.
Yeah, I always am going to have interest in Lamar. He fits the same category as Josh Allen and Murray, except for he's a better runner and doesn't throw quite as much as they do. But I don't know how to exactly be excited to bring it back. I think that Hawkinson is fine, and I think that Mark Andrews is fine. I don't know if I'm going to be stacking this game, but I'll probably have one Lamar to Andrews somewhere. But I don't know. It's not the most exciting game to me, even though it's got the high total. New Orleans and New England. I don't think we're going to have a ton of offensive interest in this one, right?
No, you don't like Kamara?
That's fine. I don't know what happened. They didn't play him at all last week down the stretch at all. I thought he was injured because I don't even know if he got half the snaps. There's no way I'm paying this kind of price for something with that much speculation against a good defense.
Okay. That's literally the only interest I had in the whole game. I had some Kamara interest, but again, nothing, like I said, there's nothing for me that's a big priority as far as running back goes. So it's not like I love Kamara or anything like that in the spot. I mean, but he's a guy, and he wasn't involved last week, but he's still freaking Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, well, is he? I mean, I don't know if he is based on last week. I really don't. I think that's something I think that kind of thing we have to try and get ahead on, especially when it comes to running backs, because this happened a couple of years ago with Todd Gurley, and we just all decided like, oh, it'll be next week, and that happened for 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's true.
And he had a lot of workload the first game against Green Bay. I don't really understand what was happening against Carolina, and I need to look back. I need to look into that more because it did confuse me what had happened. I just thought he was hurt or something. It made no sense to me why he wasn't even in the game. Anyway, I'll take a look back at that one and get back to you. But as of right now, I'm not interested in this game. Both defenses are good. Yeah, not for me.
Okay. Kyler Murray show travels to Jacksonville, I guess.
Yeah, this is my favorite game of the week. I think that the problem I'm having is trying to figure out who on Jacksonville, but I actually don't even mind if you want to play Trevor Lawrence. I think that's completely viable. People are going to talk about Justin Fields and all this stuff this week, because it's his first start. Trevor Lawrence might have to air the ball out like 50 times. You have Arizona as the team we know that plays the fastest. Jacksonville, the team that has been playing the fastest. We saw 3 wide receivers score double-digit fantasy points against them last week, including a 28 for whatever, a 20. There was some big performance, and a tight end. So I really think that this is going to be a fast-paced game. I really like the Murray to Hopkins combination. I also like Kirk and Moore. I think don't play all 3, but play one of those other ones with him. And Chase Edmonds, I think if you're not doing that, or even if you are, you could stack Edmonds with Kyler Murray, absolutely. And I think James Robinson, even though he's been unproductive, I'm willing to take a shot on him on the other side. And I am waiting on to hear what we see about Shenault. But I think that Marvin Jones seems to have some sort of connection with Lawrence. They seem to look for him a lot. So I have Jones a little bit ahead of DJ Shark. And I think those are the guys who I'm looking at in this game, but I really like this game.
Yeah, my first look, again, this is Wednesday. My first look doesn't have Arizona. Maybe I'm just not a believer in the fact that Jacksonville is actually going to be playing fast. I mean, I know they have been.
They have to play fast when they're down.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. And I also don't think you have much of a choice when you play against Arizona.
Right.
They just put the freaking pedal down, I think Jacksonville's going to have a tough time in this game. And like you said, if that's the case, they're going to have to throw a zillion times, regardless of whether it's a close game or not a close game.
Right.
So, I mean, I'll play, you know what you could play? You could play James Robinson. That's not particularly earth shattering, but you could play him. And and the thing about the Marvin Jones thing, this was really interesting. So Marvin Jones had, you know, he had a quote unquote good game in week 1. But all I heard was that it was like a fluke game, whatever. Nobody played in week 2, and he was even better week 2. So like you said, maybe you're right. Maybe there's something to the fact that, you know, you have like kind of a rookie quarterback. You have kind of more of a veteran guy that's going to, like, you know, he's going to look to. And maybe Marvin Jones is that guy over Shark, even though Shark, you know, probably has a little more dynamic. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's what you do if you want to play Arizona, to go ahead and play Marvin Jones or something like that. But yeah, Arizona. I mean, look, Arizona's in play every week. That's just the bottom line. And this week is a week, so Arizona's in play.
But, you know, we say we're skeptical, but look at, you know, I mentioned what Denver's receivers did to them last week. Look what happened week 1 with Jacksonville. I just feel like there's against Houston, where they were throwing the ball all over the field on them.
Yeah.
It just feels like a spot where I'm almost trying to force a run back from Jacksonville, just because I feel really good about Arizona. And I feel good about it being in Jacksonville, by the way, too, to maybe keep the game a little bit closer. Either way, whether it's close or not, Arizona is going to air it out until the fourth quarter starts. So if they're up 40-0, they're still going to be throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Won't necessarily be throwing the ball, but let's just say they'll be letting Murray make up decisions, you know, in the backfield.
Yep.
All right. Well, here is Denver and the Jets. I think Denver's defense, you're not going to want to pay that for a defense, but that's probably a pretty popular idea this week, even though I don't think people are actually going to get to that defense at this price. Zach Wilson, I can't entirely just blame him, but I don't really know why not. He looks absolutely just awful, and not just the interceptions. Like, it could have been like 7 or 8 interceptions the last game. He makes some throws that I honestly can't figure out what the hell he's like, even who he's throwing to. It's not really near anybody. The problem is in this game is that both defenses, I think, are good. Actually, the Jets have a good defense. It's hard for it to show up because their offense is so bad. I think Javonte Williams is an interesting tournament play, along with the other cheap value running backs that we talked about. So that's the guy who I probably am most interested in this game. I also think you could make another argument, like I made last week, just at these prices. KJ Hamler is going to have a week where he breaks some slate or is on some sort of millionaire lineup this year.
Think so?
He's good. He's good friends with Bridgewater. Bridgewater asked to move next to him in the locker room. And they've misconnected on a few plays. One almost cost them a big pick in the last game, but it would have been a huge play. And KJ Hamler has some upside all the times. Tim Patrick also, that I feel like they can get some use out of. Sutton's getting to a price where I don't really want to play him, but he had a big week last week. I just think keep an eye on the Denver passing game. They're a little better than people think, and they don't have that obvious consistent running game. They've got Gordon and Williams sort of splitting it, but I do think Javonte Williams is going to eventually take over more of the workload than Gordon. Actually, he's pretty close already. So that's all I've got for this game. Oh, yeah, the defense is cheap.
Not much for me in this game.
Yep. All right, let's go to the next one, which is Miami and Vegas, who looks really good. Vegas, I mean,
yep, sure do.
Leading the NFL in passing right now. By the way, on drives leading to scores over the last 5 years, Derek Carr is number 2 in terms of possessions leading to scores. Isn't that crazy?
Dude,
every quarterback in the NFL. I don't even know how that's possible, but it is.
Dude, Pittsburgh was playing like shit, and they were coming back, and they finally came back, and they got it to within 2 points, and then they stopped Carr, first down, second, on 3rd and freaking 10 with all the momentum in Pittsburgh and the crowd going crazy. He throws a freaking bomb right on the number of freaking rugs to put the dagger in. It was so freaking, so savage. I mean, it was such a freaking dagger. Yeah. So brutal. I mean, but yeah, he's playing great, man. He's a top 10 quarterback, no?
Yep. I mean, right now he's the number one quarterback.
Like a top one quarterback, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
I mean, I don't know if he really is, but he certainly is playing like one right now, like a top 10 quarterback. But
With no players. I mean, I shouldn't say.
well, I actually like their receivers a little bit better. I think that they have decent receivers, and then you've got the big guy in Waller.
Yeah.
People might be a little bit hesitant to go back to Waller this week, so I'm going to try to get a little bit of exposure there because he had a little bit of a down week, but nobody gets targeted more in the NFL. This is a good defense in Miami. I would make a bet here actually if Tua was healthy, that I would bet Miami wins this game. I don't know for sure how healthy he'll be, even if he does play. I could understand Tua, the quarterback.
Tua's out.
Yeah, I think he's probably got out too. We don't have that official yet. I mean, they did.
Yeah, it says Brian Flores confirmed Wednesday that he will be out.
Oh, so it just happened this morning. Because when I did
11:30 this morning. Yep.
Yeah, when I did my research last night, they were still debating whether or not. Yeah, so this game, I don't have a ton of interest in this game, just to be honest. I don't really know what I'm supposed to go to other than Waller. And I think that you can make the same argument that was made last week with Bryan Edwards or Renfro, but I don't really have a ton of interest either way. Jalen Waddle and Devontae Parker should get some work, but I just don't know if I'm going to trust this passing game.
Yeah, Miami's defense is strong enough to keep me off of Vegas, and Miami's offense is weak enough to keep me off of Miami. So I'm probably not going to do much. But I will say, like you said, that that Waller he's a strong player every week too. But this Ruggs is legit deep threat. You know what I mean? Like, so I may have misspoke when I said I have no players. I mean, this is. We went into last week just thinking Waller was like the only option, right? And that's just, look, when you line up as a tight end, it's just not the case. So I like Waller. I'll play him, but I think the game is kind of a lemon in general.
Yeah, I'm not that interested either. All right, let's talk about Tampa Bay and my Rams. Probably I'm going to go to this game.
Oh, that's awesome.
I definitely like the Rams to win this game, by the way. Tampa Bay, we played them at the end of last year. The Rams beat them pretty easily. That was the last game they lost, I believe, before the Super Bowl. Well, they didn't lose the Super Bowl. But I really like the way the Rams match up here. And I think this is going to be, even with good defenses on both sides, I think you're going to see a lot of scoring in this game. Both teams can score quick. They have efficient offenses, good play calling, and talented receivers. So just trying to measure them. I think that you're getting now the discount because of what Kupp did. He got really expensive. So, Robert Woods stands out to me. We don't know what's going to happen with the Rams running game and how healthy Henderson's going to be. So that's going to we're going to have to wait and see on that one. At the same time, while the Rams have a good defense, they can also give up big plays occasionally. I actually think Leonard Fournette is kind of in play here at 5K. Definitely the preferred back, obviously, for the Bucs right now. And I think that at 5K he's cheap enough to where he fits in. That's sort of what I'm tending. Look like what I'm going to do this week is to pay down at running back and spend up on the wide receivers. But I really like. It's hard to pick the receivers for Tampa Bay, but they're all heavily in play for me. And if I had to pick one of them, I think Godwin would be the one. But I like Antonio Brown's price, though. It makes him a little bit too, I'd probably be Brown, then Godwin, then Evans, but I like each of them and I will have exposure to each. I love Robert Woods. I like Tyler Higbee at 4K. I'm not going to do the Gronk at 5,500. I understand that he's had 2 good weeks or whatever. Still not going to do it. But I really like the rest of the receivers for Tampa Bay and Fournette. I think this is a game that's going to have a lot of scoring. So I want to get exposure. I just don't know what to do with the Rams running game. And I think Woods and Kupp, while both in play, I'm definitely leaning in the way of Robert Woods just because the price gap.
Yeah, the Bucs did have one more loss. I thought they did. The Bucs did have one more loss. They lost 27-24 to the Rams last year. And then they lost.
That game was like 27-10 or something.
No, I know. Then they lost the following week to the Chiefs, and then after that,
right. That's what it was.
They ran the table. So I think the Rams are a freaking lock in this game. I feel as though that for as long as whatever that you can get pressure, if you can get pressure on Brady, like you're in business. And fact is that the Bucks, I don't want to disparage what the Bucks have done, whatever, but they haven't really played a defense like this in a while. And I think that I think the Rams are going to really stick it to them. I really do. And I like them as my top against the spread play this week. And I think that they're gonna handle them. I do. According to my numbers or whatever, I think Tampa is probably like gonna project pretty well, just because they have good players and good players thrown at them, whatever it is. But I'm probably gonna be off of Tampa. Just insert my opinion here. I think the Rams are. I think the Rams are going to do some business here. I think Kupp is Kupp officially the man there? You know what I mean? Like I don't know, but
yeah, but I mean, let's just slow our rolls a little bit on it. It's been like this. We have this happen every year, every single year. It's the same exact argument happens. Well, maybe it's really Kupp, not Woods, and then Woods will have 2 weeks. Oh, it's really Woods, not Kupp, and Kupp gets all the credit. It's just football, man. It's variance. It's just things happen. Okay. Kupp is always he's gonna get targeted. Stafford will probably target him more. They're gonna run some sweep plays. You're gonna have some chances for some goal line opportunities for Robert Woods that you wouldn't get for Kupp from the running perspective. But also, it's not like these guys are the same price. They're 1,100 different, which is a huge difference.
So what I would say is that I don't know. I'm probably going to be a little under on this game at the end. I think the game could be an under. I don't know. I just have this weird feeling that the Rams are just going to I don't want to say play slow, but I just feel it's not going to be a particular like a shootout type game. I think the Rams are going to. You want me to really lay on the line? I think the Rams are going to establish themselves as like one of the better teams in this game. And I hope people don't realize how good like Aaron Donald is. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's crazy.
and how good Jalen Ramsey is. You know, these are two of the top, like probably 2 defensive players in the league. You know what I mean? Like, and they're on the same freaking team. And I think Brady's going to have an issue in this game. So anyway, I'm probably going to be off of the Tampa guys for that reason, and I'm probably going to be. I'll be on Kupp, and I'm with you, man. I'm going to play some Woods too. I mean, like I said, just when you think it's just Kupp, then you get Woods with a reverse and Woods across the field and all this stuff. So
he was tackled inside the 5, I believe, twice last week. He was right there for a couple of those plays. Then one of them ended up being a touchdown to Kupp. So it's like you flip 14 fantasy points for them, and all of a sudden they have a pretty close week, like they often do. But I do by the way, I like Kupp too. I just think Woods is at the discount, and I don't think the upside is so much lower than in Kupp's is. It's lower, but only on a PPR site actually is it lower. I really think that it could just as easily go Woods' way. And I'm almost inclined enough to say, hey, look, we could take some shots on Van Jefferson here, but it's not quite time for me to do that yet. But I think he's almost interesting. Anyway, I am higher on the game. I think that even if I don't think the Rams are going to be able to run the ball against Tampa Bay, and I just don't think anybody is, which makes every game have to play the ultra passing game. And if you're going to do that, you're going to be playing faster also, between incompletions and stopping the clock and big plays stopping the clock. So that's going to force this game to speed up a little bit. So I don't even disagree that it could be an under. I actually think it's a pretty high total for 2 really, really good defenses, but I could very easily see this game having like 45 passes on one side or both sides. You know what I mean? It wouldn't surprise me at all. And that's just so much, fantasy production on the PPR side of things. All right, Seattle and Minnesota. Why don't you start us off and let us know what you're doing here? Because this is another one of the games for me.
Yep, I like Seattle a lot. Like Russell Wilson, I like Tyler Lockett, I like DJ Metcalf, I like Chris Carson. I like the Minnesota side too. I'm going to start with the Wilson side, though. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to go Wilson with Metcalf, Wilson with Lockett. I'll play some maybe Carson. And as far as what to do on the Minnesota side, I think Cook's a really, really strong play. I think that Jefferson, Thielen. I think there's gonna be a lot of points scored in this game, and I want a lot of it.
Yeah. So interestingly, I like I would prefer the Will. I'm not going to probably play Kirk Cousins here. I would rather play Stafford. Having said that, Kirk Cousins has played, he's played well. He's played, especially fantasy wise, he's played well. This is an interesting game because what worries me about it is that neither team, I don't have faith in either team being able to stop the run. and both teams will be happy to go to the running game if they get up, you know? So that's the worry. That's the downside worry. I think Carson is fine. I do like Dalvin Cook quite a bit. We just saw what Derrick Henry did here to this team. And wait, am I getting my weeks mixed up?
No, you're right.
I'm right. I got it. It's tricky because the teams crossed over the first weeks that I was thinking of. I think that Seattle's defensive backs are really their issue, which is what's weird is that they got killed by the running game. So I actually do like the passing game for Minnesota. I just don't know that I want to play Cousins when I've got these guys who can run or guys who can throw for 500 yards easier, and they don't have Cook in the backfield, who's going to take up so much of the usage. So I think Jefferson is an awesome play. I think that, again, Thielen is always is a good play. He's a red zone monster. And I think KJ Osborne is the preferred spend down value guy. I mean, he's had 15 targets the first 2 weeks, is averaging 17 fantasy points a game, and he's 3,500 against a Seattle team that I'm questionable on their cornerbacks. And I think they will double Jefferson and or Thielen at times. So I think KJ Osborne is my preferred value. And then I like Wilson to Metcalf, Wilson to Lockett. And I like each of those on their own too. So look, we've seen the bigger games from Lockett so far this year. No reason it won't continue, but you're going to see Metcalf with some really big games as well. So I think this is one of the games you really want to be after. We saw what Kyler Murray did throwing against Minnesota last week. I believe it was his career high. And I think Russell Wilson could have a monster game here. The only issue is, are they going to be able to run the ball with Carson? And if they are, is that going to take away from your production? Because I'm okay with Carson. I like him. It's a good matchup. I believe you can run on this team, but I think that Mixon and I think he's going to be popular. I think Mixon and Najee Harris are just as good a plays as Carson, maybe better, but it's all going to depend on the game script, right?
Yep.
All right, let's talk. Let's. You want to talk real quickly about like some of the sum ups? I guess I can go first with my team. The games I'm targeting: KC, LA Chargers, mostly the KC passing game side of it, but I do like the Chargers as well. Arizona, Jacksonville, mostly on the Arizona passing game side of it. Tampa Bay, LA Rams, mostly on the Stafford side of it, even though I like the Tampa Bay receivers. I actually think that Brady and Stafford are really close, actually, so I shouldn't say that. Seattle, Minnesota, more on the Wilson side of it, of the passing game, but I want exposure to all those, immensely. I want to have the sneaky one for me, and I'm going to throw it in there into my main, the New York Giants and Atlanta. I think that's a game where you can get a lot of pieces, maybe not even the quarterbacks, but especially on the Atlanta side with Pitts and Patterson. Patterson at the running back position allows you to do a lot of different things. You can't find running backs that cheap very often that are involved in both sides of the game like that. You're getting a wide receiver sort of as a running back there. So I kind of like that. And just one-offs: Woods, Fournette, Brown, Godwin, Kupp, Cook, Jefferson, Metcalf, Lockett, Carson are just some one-offs that I have, along with Mixon and Harris.
So one of the only issues I ever have with playing Kansas City is if I feel as though they're just going to screw around like they did basically half of last season. They're coming off a loss. They're not screwing around. They're going to be putting the pedal to the metal, which means it's going to be a very fast game with a lot of points. And what's that?
No, nothing.
With a lot of points. And I think that's, going to be the obvious spot. And I'm going to be part of the obvious, I think. These other spots have kind of sketchiness to them, but you gotta play somebody, right? And the Rams are gonna be fine. Buffalo I like, but again, maybe I'm being too OCD about the different stacks that I have to kind of put together to make all these guys work. Like Baltimore, I'd like to play, just don't know exactly how. The Tampa game again concerns me a little bit. The Arizona spot that seems pretty logical, and the Seattle, Minnesota. So if I had to rank them, I would say the Kansas City, LA Chargers, kind of like well above everybody else. Then Seattle, Minnesota, then Arizona, and I think what's going to win for someone this week is going to be the running back position, and I don't know exactly which way I'm going to go with it, but I'm going to probably just take these 10 running backs. If let's say the projections stay the way they are, shuffle them, and whichever the lowest owned guys, or I'll just overweight those and see what happens. I wouldn't dismiss, by the way. Well, I guess you have to monitor it, but I think that if you do like that Giant game at all,
Powerfully, I agree with you, especially with the long break. The more I thought about the 10 days off, I have to do some digging. It's probably too early to. Probably have to wait till Friday to really hear all the information.
yeah.
But yeah,
And the other thing is since I've been playing DFS, these guys that can catch the ball out of the backfield against Atlanta also. I don't know.
Yep.
If he's ready, it's a great spot. If he's not, then it's not. That's
absolutely. Yeah. Totally agree with that, Sheets.
Okay, that's all I got.
All right, guys, that's our first look. Me and Rhodey will be back Friday. If Sheets wants to join us, he's welcome to join us. And we will see you at 6 Eastern tonight or 6 Eastern Wednesday night, in case you're not watching it then, for baseball. Good luck to everybody this weekend. We hope you crush it. For everyone at True DFS, I'm Bobby saying we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.